It's a knife. Twiddle, 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 twiddle. Hello, it's Culture Hash. Today we're going to review the new album from 21 Savage, I Am Greater Than I Was. So 21 Savage is a Atlanta trap rapper who is very well known for a distinctive dagger tattoo on his forehead, a little bit something like this. 21 Savage came to a lot of people's attention when he was featured on the XXL freshman list of 2016. He was featured alongside an emerging wave of rappers who are now controlling the zeitgeist in hip-hop and trap. Others featured on the list included Kodak Black, Lil Uzi Vert, Lil Yachty, Denzel Curry. So 2016 was a stacked year for the XL freshman list, and this really helped catapult 21 Savage to mainstream success. 21 capitalized on this new notoriety by releasing the mixtape Savage Mode, which was entirely produced by Atlanta's Metro Boomin, one of the biggest trap producers around, and this was a great mixtape. It was very bleak. It really showcased this dark, menacing style that 21 Savage has, as 21 Savage recited severe street narratives, first-person accounts of crime. Savage Mode was a really nice EP. It really showcased 21 Savage's style, his great flows. It's obvious to anyone who listens to 21 Savage that he isn't a lyrical miracle. 21 Savage's style is all about mood. He's got really dark, bassy beats. 21 Savage is best on these dark, bassy beats. On these dark beats, 21 Savage can really showcase his claustrophobic and dark style. It's all just dripping with atmosphere, and the Savage Mode mixtape really just showcased what 21 Savage is about and his ethos. In 2017, 21 released his debut album, Issa Album. The lead single from Issa Album is Bank Account, 21 Savage's trademark track. Bank Account peaked at number 12 in the US singles chart. Produced by 21 Savage with assistance from Metro Boomin, Bank Account is built around a sentimental acoustic guitar lick that just repeats and is emphasized by some booming trap drums and some really fast-paced hi-hats, as 21 Savage just talks about how his life is, just how much money he's making, what he's up to, and it's very important that you don't ash your cigarettes on his floor because he just had that cleaned. This is an important criteria for going over to 21's house, and he emphasizes this quite heavily on the chorus. Bank Account ended up going 3 times platinum in America, and thanks to this track's success, Issa Album peaked at number 2 in the US album charts and received gold certification. Issa Album also featured hands down the worst rap song I've heard in 2017, and arguably subsequently, the infamous 7-minute freestyle. This is where 21 Savage raps for 7 minutes and 11 seconds about his life and just talks all sorts of rubbish. It's acknowledged that 21 Savage isn't going to blow you away with his lyricism, so for him to think that he can just rhyme for 7 minutes and make it interesting was an absolute folly. Half of the tracks he just ends it 21, and then it doesn't really rhyme 21, but he just keeps saying 21, 21 at the end of the verse, so 21, it rhymes 21. That is about 4 minutes of the track, and he just runs out of things to say. It's just a very weak attempt at a freestyle. I wrote an article about it last year. I'll link to it in the description because it is an absolutely horrendous track and it has to be heard to be believed. 7 minutes of 21 Savage just talking rubbish. 2017 also saw 21 Savage achieve his first #1 single in the UK and the US with his guest feature on Post Malone's Rockstar. Rockstar is a pop trap banger talking about how Post Malone and 21 live these really exorbitant lifestyles and just go to the nicest places and take all these drugs. And even though it's a crossover track, 21 does show his style here, and he's got a nice verse on this track. 21 Savage sticks to his comfort zone here and showcases his authentic style. He's very moody and just sounds a bit bored on the track. He's quite slow paced, he raps in a sort of drawl like he's about to fall asleep sometimes. And even though it sounds like a criticism, he does a good verse on Rockstar. 2017 was a strong year for 21 Savage, and he closed out the year with the joint album Without Warning. This album is produced by Metro Boomin and features Offset of the Migos. These three work quite nicely together, and there are some bright spots on Without Warning, but overall it's not a classic. Apart from Ric Flair Drip, nothing's really stayed in my rotation since this album was released last year. This all brings us to 2018. 21 Savage hasn't released any projects this year, but he's still doing well. 21 Savage's music received 1 billion streams on Spotify this year. Impressive considering he hasn't released any projects this year and has only appeared on guest features on a handful of tracks. Since we last heard from 21 Savage in late 2017, he has developed quite a lot as a person. He's 26 now, and there's a greater maturity to 21 Savage than we've heard from him before. This is evident on I Am Greater Than I Was. As the album title suggests, 21 Savage believes he's in a more mature place. His rhyme skills have certainly improved. He's got a lot more variety with his flows. His character and stories are a lot improved, and he has no problems carrying an album like I Am Greater Than I Was. The album is about 15 minutes long, and it is certainly 21 Savage's most mature project to date. It's interesting to see how much 21 Savage's career is mirroring Kodak Black. Last week Kodak dropped Dying to Live, arguably his most mature and complete work to date. I Am Greater Than I Was sees 21 Savage address subjects like maturity and growing up in a similar way to Kodak Black last week. I Am Greater Than I Was opens with the track A Lot. A Lot opens the album a lot. It's the most talked about track on the album and is arguably its standout song. A lot. Firstly, the beat is fantastic. It's built around a sample of I Love You for All Seasons, a 1970s soul track by The Fuzz. Produced by DJ Dahi, the sample is mostly intact here, and he's just added some really infectious trap drums underneath it, and there are beautiful little snippets of the vocals that introduce the track nicely and accentuate the choruses and the verses. Ghostface Killah also sampled I Love You for All Seasons on his 36 Seasons album, so this is fertile ground for hip-hop producers. 21 Savage has got a great verse here. He really intros the album nicely. The subject is all these questions people are asking 21. Is he going to change now he's rich? How fame has affected him? What's the street life doing? What's the street life doing for 21 Savage at the moment? And A Lot feels like his equivalent of 1,000,001 Questions by Jay-Z, a track which Jay-Z used to introduce his second album and address all of the questions people were asking Hove back in the day. 21 just answers all these questions and just keeps it moving with a great flow. It really suits this instrumentation. It's rare to hear 21 Savage like rapping over soul samples and that sort of thing, but the way that the track is constructed and the use of the drums is very clever, and it keeps it trap but with this soul influence that really suits 21 Savage's style and his slowed down delivery. The most notable part of A Lot is J. Cole's verse, which kicks in the second half. J. Cole perfectly suits this soul and trap fusion of a beat here. J. Cole is no stranger to rapping over soul samples, and he really suits this production well. The pitch of his voice is lower, which I think suits 21 Savage's style and sort of brings greater cohesion between the two rappers. J. Cole's verse is great. He touches on some really interesting issues in society. He's talking about the Tekashi 6ix9ine arrest. He even mentions Markel Fultz's jump shot, which everyone says is broken at the moment. J. Cole talks about people faking streaming numbers, and it's just a really freewheeling, loose verse from J. Cole, and it just really closes the song out nicely. Arguably the strongest verse on the entire album as well. But A Lot is a great way to start I Am Greater Than I Was, and really shows this new maturity in 21 Savage's character and his raps. This new emotional maturity is displayed best on Ball Without You, a track where 21 talks about heartbreak and betrayal from the male and female figures in his life. He talks about rejection from a girl when he was at school, and it sounds like he gave her a card and she ripped it up and pissed on it. Maybe metaphorically, unclear, but ever since then he feels like his heart's turned cold. He feels like he can't be open with the women in his life, and he places a real value on loyalty over love. He explains this difference between love and loyalty as love is an emotion that people feel, where loyalty is an action that people take, and people that are disloyal to 21 Savage are going to be cut out of his life. Ball Without You is 21 Savage just talking about these emotional issues in his life and how he feels about his relationship with women and the betrayals which have affected him and his current outlook. Again, this is good maturity from 21 Savage. He certainly wasn't making tracks like this on his first album. I also like the maturity he displays in Letter to My Mama. On this track, 21 Savage engages in that rap cliche of writing a song for his mum. This is one of my favourite rap cliches, I have to say. A lot of rappers they act all tough and all that, but at the end of the day, they all love their mums. And 21 Savage's Letter to My Mama, he explores the emotional impact she's had on his life. She raised him as a single mother. Recently, 21 Savage said he's not going to spend money on jewellery. He's going to invest that money in real estate and helping out his community. On this track, he reveals that his mother was the one that told him that this is the way he should be leading his life and spending his money. It's all very positive on this track. This is the penultimate song on the album. And Letter to My Mama is a real heartfelt and tender track here. It's a nice way to begin closing out the album. It shows a humble and considerate side to 21 Savage that we haven't heard throughout the album. This increased emotional depth is one of the factors that makes I Am Greater Than I Was a compelling album and the strongest project in 21 Savage's discography to date. However, there are also some duds on here. ASMR is a gimmicky track where 21 Savage uses that whisper flow that we heard on the last Metro Boomin album. On the track Don't Come Out the House, 21 Savage just tries this whisper flow. He whispers his raps, but not in a good way like the Yin Yang Twins did back in the 2000s. It's a bit grating to hear 21 Savage whisper in my ears. I wasn't really a big fan of this. This whisper flow is the crux of this ASMR track. I'm assuming this is to boost people that are into those ASMR videos on YouTube. I don't really feel like it's a congruent move on his part. It just feels like a gimmick that he's executing to bring up some streaming numbers. It's a good idea to try it out, but I don't think it works, especially on both these tracks that I've heard, both of which are quite mediocre. I do like his line about being on both sides of the gun and having benefited and been negatively impacted by the gun. But for the most part, ASMR is quite forgettable. Despite the improved lyricism from 21 Savage, he gets blown out by the majority of the guest features on this album. Obviously, J. Cole steals the show on a lot. Can't Leave Without It features one of my favourite hip-hop duos at the moment, Gunna and Lil Baby. Although 21 Savage has got a serviceable flow and verse on here, Gunna and Lil Baby have just got that chemistry at the moment. The two just play off each other so nicely in the final 2/3 of this track and just close it out so well. But Good Day is the most obvious example of 21 Savage getting just blown out by his guests. On Good Day, 21 Savage doesn't really have a proper verse. He intros the track and does the hook and interpolates the chorus from Ice Cube's It Was a Good Day. But then we lead into a really good Schoolboy Q verse. I haven't heard enough Schoolboy Q this year. I hope to hear him release a new project next year. And he leads just really nicely into Project Pat's verse. Project Pat being the older brother of 3 6 Mafia founder Juicy J. Project Pat has quietly had a very successful year this year. Project Pat was featured alongside A$AP Rocky on Blood Orange's new album on the track Chewing Gum. Project Pat's vocals were also sampled on A$AP Rocky's album, and on Guns and Butter his verse was just cut up into the chorus. It was really sticky, really catchy a way of doing it. A lot of people have been doing it this year, just chopping up some trappy vocals from the 2000s and building hooks around them, and it was really good on Guns and Butter. So we've had a good year for Project Pat. and his verse on Good Day is fantastic. You can just hear on his flow how influential he is. In 2018, the year where everyone is just copying 3 6 Mafia, Project Pat's verse is just so influential. You can just hear this style of flow that everyone's doing now, and was originated by people from Memphis like himself and the rest of the 3 6 Mafia. I love the way Project Pat sort of bends the pronunciation of words to fit into the verse, and his use of melody is just sublime. So Good Day is certainly a standout track from this album, but it doesn't really have much to do with 21 Savage himself. 21 Savage also gets just smashed on the track Monster. This one features Childish Gambino, who's back doing some rapping here. Over the last few years, I've lost interest in Childish Gambino, the rapper, but his verse here is very good. It's another standout from this album. And 21 and Childish Gambino just riff about just the trappings of fame, how the money has created this monster, all the power that they've got over people. It's a nice exploration of fame, and again is a standout track on this album. Overall, 21 Savage, I Am Greater Than I Was, is a very enjoyable album. There were some fantastic guest features on this album. Lil Baby, Gunna, J. Cole, Childish Gambino, Project Pat, even Post Malone. These guys all just have great moments on this album. 21 Savage himself has improved as a rapper. His flows have gotten better. He's a lot more compelling and honest about himself. So he has no problems carrying an album of around 50 minutes here. It's a good length of time. The beats are fantastic. 21 Savage has got a great ear for beats. All the beats really suit him. There's nothing too out of his comfort zone. And the atmosphere is a lot less moody and dark than we've previously heard on 21 Savage projects. On Issa album, sometimes it got a bit too dark and gloomy and there wasn't really much fun to be had. The album title, I Am Greater Than I Was, is a very fair reflection on 21 Savage. He's improved in all aspects of being a rapper. He's got great flows, great beats, and is a very interesting character on this project. I very much enjoyed it. I'm scoring it down slightly because a lot of the better moments aren't really to do with 21 Savage, but that doesn't detract from the enjoyment of the project as a whole. So for me, it's worthy of 7 out of 10. A lot.